For proper assembly, please also refer to our assembly support page for the Core-5, where you will find the most up-to-date assembly tips and manual. Carefully remove the bike. This is easier with an extra person. Unless you're also using a bike stand, we suggest a padded surface and standing the bike upright, not on its side. Remove all parts and tools. Parts include pedals, charger, owner's manual, chainring with crankarm. Thoroughly inspect the box for any remaining parts. We recommend keeping the box for the first 30 days. Tools needed: 15mm crescent wrench, 2 through 10mm hex wrench set, which is included. Cut the zip ties to free up the front fork, front wheel, saddle with seat post, and handlebars. Use caution not to cut any electrical wires or scratch your new frame. Step 1. Installing the fork. Remove the compression bolt and cap. Slide all components off, noting the order and orientation. Note: in most generations, the caged bearings, cone race, and dust cover will be pre-installed. Slide the lower, larger caged bearing and lower dust cover onto the crown race as shown. With the brake caliper and cables on the left, insert the steerer tube through the head tube. Seat the fork, ensuring a snug fit. Install the upper headset components. First the cage bearings, then the cone race, followed by the dust cover, and then the compression ring. Center the steerer tube in the headset and press down on the compression ring till the tube is centered in the head tube. Add the final washer and spacers. Next, we will slide on the stem with handlebars. Please check orientation for proper wire and cable routing. Slide on the stem. Note, the top of the stem sits slightly higher than the top of the fork. Install the cap and bolt. Tighten the compression bolt before tightening either stem pinch bolt. Tighten the bolt until you feel some resistance when rotating the handlebars as shown, but not too tight that it will not turn. The fork should only rotate smoothly. It should not shift in any direction relative to the head tube. Next, center the stem and tighten the 2 stem pinch bolts, incrementally tightening one, then the other until secure. Installing the front wheel. Avoid touching the brake rotor with your fingers. Loosen the axle nuts. Slide the front wheel into place with the brake rotor centered between the brake pads. Ensure it is fully seated and tighten the axle nuts, keeping the wheel centered in the fork. Completely tighten to 25 Nm using a 15mm crescent wrench and ensure the axle nuts are fully connected with the dropouts. Aligning your handlebars. If a torque wrench is available, torque specifications are listed on the stem. If not, refer to the user manual. Loosen the clamp bolts and rotate and center the handlebars to preference. Tighten the 4 bolts in a cross pattern. Spacing should be even on all 4 corners. Installing the chainring and crankarm. Make sure the crankarms are pointed in opposite directions. Install the right crankarm and chainring with your 8mm hex wrench. Creating slack with your derailleur, loop the chain around the front chainring. Tighten bolts on both sides as tight as possible by hand, if using a torque wrench, to 39 Nm. Install the pedals by hand. Pedals show L for left and R for right. The left pedal is reverse threaded. Tighten this counterclockwise. Tighten with the 15mm crescent wrench. Installing the seat post and seat. Loosen the seat post clamp lever. Insert past the minimum insertion point. Tighten the seat post clamp. You can also adjust the angle of the seat by loosening or tightening the bolts on the seat post. Ensure the seat is not slid too far back and that both bolts are properly tightened. Having the seat parallel with the ground is typically ideal. Inflating the tires. Minimum and maximum PSI is shown on the sidewall of the tires. Use a PSI gauge when inflating. Valve stem should be perpendicular to the rim. Stop after a few pumps to ensure the tires are properly seated on both sides all the way around the rim. On to the final steps. Organizing your cables. Wrap the display, throttle, and brake cutoff cable separately from the front brake cable and combine them in the middle with the rear brake cable, cutoff, and shifter cable. Turning to the left or the right, the cables and wires are relaxed and not under tension. If you can see or feel tension in the cables and wires, readjust them. Protect the cables and wires from stress wherever possible. Adjusting the brake calipers. Spin the front and rear wheel. Inspect the clearance between the pads for space. Small adjustments can be made using the barrel adjuster at each brake lever and by the calipers. Brake adjustment is often needed after assembly. For detailed brake adjustments, please watch this separate video. Make sure your gears are shifting evenly and that the derailleur hanger is straight before riding your bike or using the motor. Please watch this separate video on how to properly align or index your gears to be certain they are shifting properly and the limit screws are set properly. Now is a good time to adjust the length of your kickstand. The arm is adjustable to set your preferred standing angle and should be tightened so the bolt doesn't come loose when riding. When you're ready, turn on the bike by holding the middle button down. The throttle's active and will send power to the motor. Removing your battery. Insert and twist key from lock position to remove the battery. Reinstalling the battery, ensure it is fully seated and the key is in lock position. The bike is set up with 5 adjustable levels of pedal assist. Press the plus button to increase your pedal assist level. Press the minus button to decrease. When not riding the bike, always turn off your bike. Please watch this additional video to understand the advanced options of your display. Now, it is best to make sure everything is properly tightened and secured. For tips on a proper safety check, please click here. Thanks for watching this overview of the Core-5 assembly.